Order. First business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll do roll call, Amy, please.
Absolutely. Commissioner Dipdahl,
Here.
Commissioner Cronin,
Here.
Commissioner Wire,
Here.
Commissioner Shaw,
Here.
and Mayor Roy Lindsay. That's it.
First thing is we're gonna adopt the agenda. Is there any changes or anything anybody wants to change on the agenda? Hearing none, motion to adopt the agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
So move Jure.
Second.
Second Sarah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consent calendar. Anybody have anything they want to pull out of the consent calendar? If not, we'll take a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve the consent calendar is presented.
Motion by Kelly,
Second.
second by Jure. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Unfinished business. Approve second reading of ordinance 1673 to repeal and replace chapter 18 floods.
Well, let Ryan take this one.
All right, Ryan, come on up.
So again, this is the second reading of the flood ordinance. Our new maps come in effect November 21st of 2024. And so in order to have those become effective on that day, we need to pass an ordinance. And this is the second reading of said ordinance. There's not a lot of changes from the first reading. Changed the word feet to foot, and then there was a couple other typos, very, very minor things. So this is the second reading of that ordinance. And again, not a lot of changes from our existing ordinance. There's a lot of changes in the format and sections and things of that nature, but the biggest things are that allows us to use best available data, which will be helpful for our flood management. And then there's a number of new definitions for things. And then the last thing that is of note, I want to mention. Oh, yes, is that this kind of cleans up some requirements to submit technical data. In the past, that's kind of been a sticking point for some communities. They're not sure when to do those things. And this indicates that's a new section of this ordinance that would indicate when we submit new technical data. Doesn't really impact the public. It just helps the city out. So we would recommend approving this second reading.
Any questions for Ryan at all? If not, we'll take a motion to approve second reading of ordinance 1673 to repeal and replace chapter 18 floods with the amendments.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 1673 to repeal and replace chapter 18 floods.
Motion by Sarah,
Second.
second by Jure. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next one, consider award of bid number 962, City Library ramp.
I'll take this one as well. So this, as you recall, and I guess I'll say it for the public watching. This was tabled from the last meeting in order to look into the grants that we had applied for and had been awarded. There, we couldn't recall what that dollar amount was. It is $20,000. And there was concern that at that time we would lose that grant if we were to reject the bids a second time. Good news from Lisa in the library. She was able to report to us that the current grant, she'd reached out and that will be able to be extended. Instead of having to use that by March of 2025, we can now use it by April of 2026. In addition, she had got some recommendation to apply for some round 3 funding, and then that could be an expansion of the previous grant. So we may be able to even get more grant dollars. but we can certainly spend that amount that we have been awarded so far, something that we previously didn't think we could. So I guess maybe I'll go over the background. So this project, we began looking at redesign of the ramps and the landings and the stairs and everything, back in about May. Went to bid the first time in August of 2024. Those bids range from $335,530 to $414,437.
Just put it,
That was well over our estimated cost. We thought estimated cost was about $200,000 for that. Bid number 2 revised the ramp project to only remove the 2 ramps, and then that would just leave the existing steps and the planters in place. That was meant to modify the project to lower the cost significantly, and then we went back to bid with that. Estimated cost for that was $115,000. We received only 1 bid, and that bid amount with alternate was $222,000, well above what we had anticipated. So staff recommendation is to reject these bids a second time with the knowledge that the grant funding will still be available. We also think that if we have an early fall, or early or late winter bid, like a January or February bid, then that would allow local contractors and more contractors from the surrounding area to be able to put that on their schedule. We think that that was a significant part of the reason for the high bids the last time, was having trouble fitting that into people's schedules. And in some cases, they weren't able to bid it at all. So we think that this will provide a lot more opportunities for bidders to bid, but then we'd like to redo that bid, redo the way that that's bid to allow some more flexibility, using some additional alternates that we could get around some of these large dollar items that we didn't anticipate. One of those large dollar items was the handrails on the ramp. Those were almost $70,000 for the handrails. And so having an alternate to a non-lit handrail, or being able to then not award that portion of it, would allow a lot more flexibility. So that's our recommendation, is to reject the bids a second time, and then we'd like to go to bid for it a third time and modify that to allow the maximum amount of flexibility, and then try to draw additional bidders.
Handrails required on that?
They are, yes,
It's not lit, right?
Just not.
correct. They wouldn't have to be lit.
Is that something you could run conduit to and
Think so.
in the future?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be part of our idea, was we would bid it probably with the full scope of having the lights, and then maybe an alternate to just run the conduit, maybe a second alternate just for a regular handrail. And you have the opportunity to choose what's best.
you have a recommendation if this third bid would be closer in scope to the first bid or the second bid?
So I mentioned the opportunity to apply for some third round funding application. That would probably require there to be some sort of expansion on the previous plan. So I think going back to the third bid would be closer to what we had on the first project bid rather than the second, but it'll probably be somewhere in between. So it's kind of not a very good answer, but of the two, I think it'll be closer to bid 1 than bid 2.
Did Lisa indicate the value of the third round?
No, she did not. She just said that this might mean changing the plans. Thoughts were better lighting, additional heating in the ramp, and enlarged entrance would be things that grant would look positively on. It would be something that you'd want to modify it to better accommodate ADA.
Do you suppose if we were to heat that, it would extend the life of that concrete, obviously?
I think it definitely would, yeah.
Yeah. Put salt and everything else.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot less labor cost and.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Are we gonna change how we're, or where we're advertising for bid? It seems like we're not getting, I mean, we only got two the first time and one the second time, right?
Yeah, we did get a lot of people reaching out to ask us if if the end date was able to be moved, because we had that being finished up this fall, knowing that we needed to spend that grant fund by March, and so we were kind of rigid on that completion date. And so we lost some bidders there for sure.
Sure.
I think we could go to, they call it Quest. Quest is an option. That's a way you can send in electronic bids. That's something that Banner utilizes and KLJ utilizes, so we might do it through Quest, but we also have been sending it out to the two exchanges, the Plains Builders Exchange up in Watertown, and Sioux Falls Builders Exchange. And so a lot of people are seeing these, and we're also reaching out directly to concrete contractors, but I don't think the amount of bids we actually received is really indicative of the amount of contractors that may have had interest, but yeah, I agree with you. I think we should ramp up our, how visual our bids are.
I think having it open longer too would help.
Yeah,
It's not as rigid as we've been.
right, yeah.
How soon could we get it back out, or what are you thinking if that's the way we?
I would wait until after the holidays, but as far as, I think we could have it ready for bid in a month, right? I didn't do that. I'd probably wait until January, February.
That's when they start lining up work already in the spring, then.
Yeah, usually about then, that has kind of continued to fall back, about 10 years ago, everyone bid everything out in March or April, and it's just been kind of moving backwards since then. So January and February bids have become a commonplace.
So I guess we have a decision. Do we reject the bids or do we take the one we were given?
I'll make a motion to reject the bid number 962 for the city library ramp.
Motion by Kelly to reject the bid,
I'll second that.
second by Sarah. Any further comments, discussion?
I guess my only other comment is this means that we'll work with other city, staff and city departments, and we'll try to make sure that that ramp stays safe until such time that a contractor can address the problems.
One side better than the other, Ryan.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think, that east ramp is in pretty pitiful shape, but I think if we do work on one side, maybe close the other off, that would be the way to go.
So we got a motion on the table to reject the bids. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ryan. New business. Approve first reading of ordinance 1672, 2025 appropriation. Who do you want to take that?
Sure. I have included everything for ordinance number 1672. A few things to note on that is I did not include any unsecured financing or any additional debt to our schedule for that. So that's not included in there. All of our construction projects are on that, which are SRF 4, 5A, 5B, and 9, Egan Avenue, Creek Walls, and the airport are all played into there. So you'll see where I'm applying everything through the bottom line there, to be applied in the tune of $11,805,000. It gives you a very transparent picture of what construction costs we have coming up, which is what I wanted to give you. This budget is also built on a recommended rate increase of 8%, which come from the rate study. So based on where our decision goes from there, we'll see variance in the second reading.
Say that again, so the rate study for the electric side,
Correct.
that is suggesting an 8.5% increase.
8% was recommended from Blair from DGR. And so that's what information we plugged in for So we get 6.5% that comes back through the enterprise fund from utility. And so that's the number that I've used in this build out for this budget. So once you guys make your decisions on that, we'll see a difference in this reading.
Hearing none, motion,
I'll make a motion to approve first reading of ordinance number 1672 2025 appropriations.
motion by Sarah,
I'll second.
second by Jure. Any further discussion?
The next reading is held
Next reading is scheduled for November 4th.
for the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay, motion, second, all those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, same sign?
Do we have any additional data or where Blair came up with that yet then, or?
I think he has a pretty detailed, have they been given that?
Yeah, I don't have it on hand. Sure, but if you could provide that. for the
Absolutely.
next meeting, that'd be helpful.
I did ask Nate for that and he did send it, so I'll make sure that it goes out.
On the rate study, correct, Kelly?
Yeah.
And to clarify there, we don't expect the rate study to be done, until we get the 2023 audit done, but we know that there's gonna be some rate increase likely, so we asked Blair to put together some drafts and what he would propose, until we get that rate study completed, once the audit is done.
And just because they propose 8%, we don't have to do 8%, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I just
Absolutely.
want that out in the public, because that'll be the first thing that's gonna.
Yeah, and Nate recommended, and in this build out of the budget, I did not balance the budget with any debt service, which is what Nate recommends doing for those transformer upgrades and substations. So that would be pulling on another bond, and that's not anywhere in this calculation because it's not secured, it's not any avenue we've sourced, and I just wanted to give you guys a crystal clear picture of what those construction costs will be.
So we had all ayes, no nays, so the motion will carry for the first reading. Number 12, public meeting, Egan Avenue reconstruction RD funding application.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have a presentation that will provide an overview on this project. This hearing is a requirement before we can proceed with applying for rural development funding. Any questions and discussion, of course, are welcome, but no action required. Ryan, welcome back to the hot seat.
Yes, thank you. So I reached out to Road Development, and they had indicated when you're applying for RD funding, there's two things you need to do. You need to publish a notice of intent to file an application with the agency. I've done that. And then the second item is the general public meeting. This meeting, the purpose of it is to give citizenry an opportunity to become acquainted with the proposed project and comment on such items as economic and environmental impacts, service area, alternatives to the project, or any other issue identified by the agency. To the extent possible, this meeting should cover items necessary to satisfy all public information meeting requirements for the proposed project. As you know, we've had a number of meetings. We've discussed this project, I believe 6 times. We had commission meetings, and then we had additional open houses, and we've had one-on-one landowner meetings. So it's likely that one or a number of those meetings would have met this requirement. However, out of abundance of caution, I just elected to have an additional public meeting. So listing the design objectives, were to reduce the amount of asphalt along the corridor and provide more green space. That was the decision made early on. Create that gateway from downtown to DSU. Maintain the on-street parking as much as possible. We should be able to do that. Might just lose a couple spots, but for the most part, that's being done. And then if possible, begin this construction in 2024. Preliminary cost estimate for the project is Grand total of $7,775,946.48. That's a number that's been shared for about a year, and we still feel like that's an appropriate and accurate number. Funding opportunities, we're looking at a number of those. One is the state revolving funds. We have that SRF application. We've heard back from them that we are eligible for that SRF money. The other is the USDA RD, water and waste disposal loans and grants. That would be this process that we're still applying for. And then if there's lead service line in that corridor, we'd be eligible for some funding in order to redo some service lines. The surface funding would then be handled by the Transportation Alternatives Grant, which we've applied for, and we should hear about in January. And then Safe Streets for All, that would be a lesser amount, but an option that we're still exploring yet.
Wasn't there, or sorry to interrupt you there.
Yeah,
Wasn't there additional funding that we could go after as long as we have that multi-use sidewalk on that?
yeah, so that would be that transportation alternative.
Oh, that's in that T.
Yeah, that's that
okay.
TA one, yeah. Full schedule, we remain on schedule, expected design completion November 2024. We're about 95% right now, so that should be doable. December to March, depending on the funding, of course, we could be looking at bidder selection, and then we would start construction if possible from 2nd to 5th Street this year, and then complete the following year from 6th to 9th. There's a lot of, things that are pending. This application, one thing, we're not sure when we'll hear back from it, but that may push timelines, but this is still our proposed schedule. Improvements. Proposed improvements are upsizing, our water mains to 10-inch and 6-inch hydrant leads. That's our typical hydrant lead. The 10-inch minimum water main would allow us to loop that water main. That would provide a big benefit to the city. We replace all the surfaces in that corridor, all the valves, installation of new fire hydrants, and then all new sanitary manholes and sanitary sewer lines as well. The storm drains, storm drains that are there currently are not functional at all. I mean, they're all filled up with dirt. They're really not functioning well at all. There's hardly any curb there, just from years and years of mill and overlays. And so that's a huge change of this, would be replacing all of those inlets with modern ones and then reconstructing all the curb grades. And that would allow us to have ADA compliant sidewalks as well. Street lights, the current street lights are they're really outdated, very old. We can replace those with conventional lights and decorative finishes and accents to kind of match the historic district. And those would be located in that median and would better light up the area. Currently, the lights really don't do that job very well. Street improvements, so the street improvements would be the bump outs from 4th to 9th. Those would also include the shared use path on the east side, that 8-foot shared use path, and then there'd be all new sidewalks and retaining walls. Steps will be necessary in some locations. It's a lot of what we had planned on, early on with our boards and our Eaton Avenue planning. So that remains the plan. And then, of course, the landscaping and planting of the trees and everything. So that's kind of a recap and a rundown of the project. And again, this was just to give the public opportunity if they wanted to ask any questions and provide any input. We just want to check that box and make sure everyone's been contacted appropriately, and we feel like they have. We've had a number of meetings and just wanted to make sure we were filling our requirements for already.
Brian, you said the bump outs are gonna go from fourth to ninth.
Yeah.
I know we've gone back and forth on this.
Yeah.
Trying after time every time. But I know at one point we were gonna stop when it be issued. Did we then go through and say we were going all the way to ninth with them?
Yeah, correct. So at that last meeting when we kind of determined the route we were gonna do, that's what was decided was, fourth and ninth. So I mean, June, I believe. Yeah, it was the June 17th, commission meeting.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember how far we were going.
Yep.
I know there was debate on how far to the south we were gonna go as well. That night.
Yeah, so at that time, we determined 17-foot driving lanes, 8-foot parking spaces, 20-foot median, and designing those bump outs from fourth to ninth.
Any questions for Ryan? We don't have to take action on this, correct?
Correct. No
No,
action.
it's more like a form. Another check mark towards the
Yep,
project.
onward and upward, right?
That would be nice when we get it done. It's not real fun to drive a bus down that road right now. It'll be great when it's done. All right, number 13, resolution 2024-35, authorizing bond anticipation notes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you've known from our last year or two, as well as the projects that Amy named for next year's budget, that we've got going on. We have a lot of big projects going on, and that requires a lot of synchronization with financing as it's coming and going in and out of our accounts. This resolution would allow us to issue an RFP of up to $5 million on bond anticipation notes. So those notes don't go toward a particular project, but they do allow the city some flexibility as we can use those as needed to balance out the ebbs and flows of our projects that are coming in. So we'll be able to select and work with a local bank who can issue those notes as needed. And then as cash gets spent down, if we feel like it's getting too low, we'd be able to utilize those bond anticipation notes. For example, we know our SRF project sometimes as it goes through the planning districts and the state, sometimes it can take a few months for us to get the reimbursements. And the creek wall improvements, we get no reimbursements until the project is complete. We are working on some financing options for both of those, but this is another step towards helping us secure financing that can provide us flexibility as we're moving through all these projects. Anything to add, Amy?
Summed it up nicely.
Stand by for any questions.
All this factoring our constitutional debt limits and things like that.
Yeah, that depends on the project of what it's being used for. Some projects have surcharges to pay the financing, to pay the debt back, and those don't count towards our constitutional debt. Others would count towards that debt. The debt is something that we watch closely to make sure that we are staying within our constitutional requirements.
Questions? Hearing none. Anybody would like to make a motion on that?
Make a motion to approve resolution 2024-35, authorizing bond anticipation note.
Motion by Kelly,
Second.
second by Sarah. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 14, consider award of bid number 961, recycling center operational services.
Mr. Chair, so this contract is for operational services of a recycling center. So this includes labor on largely operating some of the equipment and sorting out the recyclables and keeping a clean facility. It's a 2-year contract. Currently, we pay around $8,900 per month or $106,000 per year. We advertised the bid, received 1 bid from Valiant Living in the amount of $14,500 per month, which is $174,000 per year. That is a large increase from what we're expecting currently. The budget that we passed or that we are working on passing, we had the first reading today, included 6% just as a placeholder before we had this bid opening. And so this is a significant increase for the services that we need at the recycling center. So we've compiled a few options for the commission to consider as alternatives. So of course, our first option would be to award the bid to Valiant Living or to negotiate with them as a low bidder. We've done that with the last couple of contracts to try to find a more agreeable price. We could also reject the bid and re-advertise, try to find more individuals or companies interested in doing this work who could submit bids. And then third option is to reject the bid and hire internally to complete the scope of work. We figured that about 2 full-time employees would be what would be necessary to complete this. And Gary, do you remember what the estimated cost was on that we got, or Roxy? Yeah, we'll let her pull that up. And then the fourth option was to explore changing our recycling to single stream recycling. And so options 3 and 4, at the time of writing the staff memo, we were still compiling some cost estimates on that. Ultimately, the staff recommendation is to reject the bid and re-advertise. We feel like we might be able to find more folks out there that might be able to bid this, and if not, then we are still back in the same position we are now. We can pursue some of those other options. And while we're doing that, we can also dig deeper into some of those other options to see what some of the details are.
I'm thinking it was about 140,000
That sounds right.
full-time, is
Yeah.
what Kristen put together for us.
Yeah, so option 3 is 140,000, yeah, to have 2 full-time staff, so that includes all the benefits that would go with those employees to complete the recycling there. On the single stream recycling, there's a lot of factors that go into that. First, I'll emphasize that recycling is a very volatile industry, so the pricing on that changes substantially. Right now, because we have them sorted and separated, the product that we produce is very clean compared to many cities, and so we are able to get a good price for that. Switching to single stream, some of the benefits you get is ease for the customer. They can dump them all into one bin. We probably still want to keep the cardboard separate to keep that clean, but ultimately it all gets sold to Millennial Recycling in Sioux Falls. And so whereas now we're able to sell the product for some kind of revenue source, if we went to single stream, we would be paying them to take the recyclable. Is that accurate, Gary?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so that'd be a big change that we would need to consider. We would be able to save some money down the road by not purchasing a baler. Right now, we bale those materials together once they're sorted, and that baler is getting to the end of its life. And so we know that if we continue with sorting, we're gonna have to buy a new baler. It would save us the cost of that, but on the other hand, we'd have to buy new carts. And 2 years ago, when we did that, number is $150,000. I don't know if we have an estimate yet for what it would be today. But there's definitely some give and take with that option as far as what those pros and cons are. Gary, anything to add, or Roxy?
Yeah, with our single stream, we've looked into it a few times, and Bud's cleanup would have to do what we do, so everything that came in would be without bags, so everything would be clean without a bag. So the initial buy-in, I'd say, would be everybody gets a can, you dump it in, single stream. We sort out, we sell everything to Millennium, so we would have to have another garbage truck just set aside for recycling, and I would say that Buds would have to do the same. They brought theirs in, it'd have to be all clean, and then we pay them roughly $40 a ton. And we would see basically none of our revenue from that, so anything that we would sell now would be gone, we would just. So.
What is our revenue?
It varies, but I think we budgeted this year for 90,000.
2025, we budgeted 90,000.
Okay,
To date, we're looking at about 80,000 that we've gotten so far to date. But as Jameson said, it's very volatile. I'm getting, pretty good pricing now, but I've been informed that it's gonna bottom out here real soon in November, and it'll probably won't rebound till about March, April usually.
so that's cardboard only, right?
No, that's everything.
Well, that's everything.
It's,
Single stream is really good for the consumer, bad for the end user. Sorted is harder for the consumer, better for the end user. That's the best way to look at it.
we're kind of unique that we have very clean bales coming out of our centers.
But I mean, what I'm thinking about is, you know, what's the price difference annually, year over year, when you consider 140,000 two FTE employees compares to single stream? I mean, is it?
Well, initially, you're gonna have that buy-in of the carts and the extra truck, but after that, start looking pretty good.
That first year, it's hard.
Yeah. Understood.
And, yeah, we would have to do the same with buds, they would have to inform them what we're doing, so that would be a big expense for them also. So. Not that that's part of the business, I guess, but. We can get to that point where you gotta look at every angle or every. I would recommend that we rebid it and try for one more better bid, and if, so we have till February to get this settled. So.
Is the Valiant contract always 2 years?
Before this contract, I think it was 3 years, and then we moved it down to 2 years.
Has Valiant always gotten a contract, or did we do anything in the previous?
No, we've never had anything but them. So,
Okay.
And their increase was 64%.
yes.
34%.
64, yeah.
This conversation keeps getting more difficult each.
It does, it just keeps getting tighter and tighter, but I still think there's somebody out there that could maybe do it cheaper, I don't know, I haven't.
I think it's,
And
go ahead, Gary, sorry.
I just think that that's too much of a jump, I can't make that work, so.
I was gonna note in regards to Valiant Living, I think it's important for us to state on the record that we've had a great working relationship with them. We've really enjoyed you working with them on the contract for many years now, and it's worked well, I think, for both sides. But at this point, with their costs must be increasing, we have to look at what our costs are too, and all the alternatives at our disposal.
I know we asked this last time too, but are they expressing anything that's pushing them to increase 64%? I mean, I know we all know the inflationary pressures, but it just seems.
Yeah, I have not spoken with them.
Just from our conversations last year, they said that they've lost money for numerous years with our contract, but that was from last year's conversation.
Sure.
So we were expecting an increase. I don't think we were expecting this.
Yeah.
An increase.
When does it expire?
January 31st, end of January.
Or you'd have enough time to react already, you know, if we had to go pursue a second truck, we wouldn't. Can't imagine you have another truck here.
No, I think you have to look at used.
Right.
And, yeah, I mean, cans, I could pretty much have them here and we could.
Oh, you could.
I talked to them about that already. I went to that conference, we kind of went over every scenario and they said, oh, the baler guy was wanting to sell me a baler and I said, oh, we hold off on that until we figure out if we have a contract or not. And then the cans, we kind of got a rough estimate at $75 a can.
Same as the blue ones, just, I'd imagine.
Yeah, you just get another separate can. And a lot of the problem with that is people think that they're getting another can for garbage and you can't put anything but clean recyclables in that can. So maybe you just pick that up on Wednesday, just like.
How many homes do we service in garbage?
It's
About 1,700 roughly.
Okay.
That the city as our customers.
Okay.
And then I don't know how many Buds has.
You said 75 a can?
Yeah.
Between 75 and 80, depending on the DEL and everything that we put on it.
Probably double that, when you include a truck, 150 pounds.
Yeah, I would say you're close to 200 for truck. You're at 350 for a buy-in and once you're in, the cans are probably about a 10-year can.
Just something to think about, if you go single stream, if that's a decision, there's no going back. So, we're stuck, at that point, then you're looking at whatever Millennium wants to charge us.
Right.
At any given point, or if they want to increase their rates, whatever, there's not a lot of contractors out there that accept this, so, we're kind of, it'd be really hard to go single stream and then go back to sorted if you decide it's not working out.
I always struggle with this because I sit on the Valiant board and I know that the clientele, I worry about them as well, like what are they gonna do in this community? Because this is something that is important for them. And we've had a few of them that have been there a long, long time doing this, but I also understand that we can't put a 64% increase on our taxpayers as well, and we just can't do that. And we had a board meeting last week and they know that it's high, they're fully aware of it. I mean, they have expenses just like we have expenses. So it's a tough pickle to be in, unfortunately, but we have to look out for what's best for the taxpayer at this point as well.
When we looked at these two full-time employees, is there opportunity from surrounding communities to grow on that, maybe the Howards or Holmans or somebody brought that clean recycling to us, or is it not worth the?
Yeah,
The extra
they're
work.
welcome to bring it now.
Oh, they are? Okay.
I think they do bring some, so.
Or grow that larger, I mean,
Yeah, you're just pulling that much more down at $40 a ton, so you gotta.
it wouldn't work out.
You're talking if we hire staff to run it.
Yes, our.
Oh, yeah,
Staff
okay.
and grow that operation bigger.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure you can do it with two. I think that would be, initially when we put in two, I think we're gonna be over there a lot helping, so, but that's just an unknown. I know we've run that line and it's not easy, it's monotonous, and I think you're gonna have a lot of turnover with that, so. It's not a glamorous job, but it's. Yeah, it's just a rare. And most cities just don't do it anymore, they just push it on, the transfer stations they call them, and that's all they are, is move it on down the line, but. I mean, we are keeping it out of landfills, and I think we're doing a good job of that, and I think we're getting a good product, so, but at one point, you gotta pull the plug or figure out something different, so.
Yeah, this is unfortunate, we'll have to tear the Band-Aid off and.
Right.
But I cannot vote in this because I serve on that board as well, but I think from the city side of it, I think we need to support Gary, in my opinion. He's saying reject the bids and open it up again and see what we get. I think we have time to do that.
Yeah, lead time on cans and trucks, I thought it'd be a lot more.
Yeah, truck, I don't know, but I know the cans are pretty available.
Now, can we get more concrete numbers of year-over-year costs compares to single stream, compares to what we're doing now?
Yeah, we can do the best we can, and that's one reason why we said if we can spend a few weeks to put together some better numbers. We might as well re-advertise to see
Yeah.
if we can
Yeah,
get
yeah.
some more bids.
Yeah.
But we can certainly get better, we can sharpen our pencils and get better numbers.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, I know, it seems like we just had this conversation, but like, if you look at a Brookings, I don't know, do they have single stream and what are their pros and cons and, that type of thing, if we can hear from another community that's maybe made the transition already, or.
I know like Brandon lives in Hartford and they have single stream. He's got about 2 or 3 cans. He's got a yard waste can and then a recycling can and then garbage can.
Gary recently was at a solid waste conference. As you've spoken to other towns, have they indicated any feedback on moving to single stream?
Yeah, there's pros and cons to everything. They've asked how we do it, and they do like the product, but they, the farther away you get, of course, the more you're paying for trucking, so that's what's eating a lot of these guys up is, if we decided that all we were gonna haul was our own, that would cut things down too, but I don't know how you break that up or regulate that. I mean, Bud's brings in a lot and we have to charge him accordingly, or we haul it, or he hauls it himself, or it's just a big unknown that we just might have to dive into. It's just one of those things that,
I don't love the single stream. I would rather keep it on our own.
yeah.
I know it's probably a lot easier in the end, but I do think when you get revenue off of it, we're becoming somebody else's mercy at that point too.
In a perfect world, you would,
At least with our revenue, we offset some of our expense.
we are getting some back, so.
Sounds like we have time. I'd like to pursue your recommendation of that option two is what I think is the best direction right now. I don't know what it would take to rebid or how we'd even do that, but then also at the same time work on more concrete numbers.
Yeah.
For next meeting, November.
I don't know that we'll have the bid completed by.
Right, no,
But
but
would you like some numbers?
yeah,
At that meeting, regardless of what the bid's looking like?
64%, so. Sure. Big one. But we need to prepare too for, like I said, this is what, second, third time we've had this and it just keeps getting more difficult. Thank you.
So we need a motion to either accept the bid, reject the bid. You guys feel-
So I'll make a motion, I guess to pursue what we're calling option two, to reject the bid and re-advertise. And at the same time, watch for more additional numbers on revenues and what our options are.
So motion by Jure to reject bid 961 and reopen that bidding. Second by Kelly. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye. Opposed? And I abstain. So three yeas and one abstain. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Roxy, appreciate that. Number 15, authorize the mayor to sign change order number 7, Madison Water System Improvement Phase 1A, J&J Earthworks Incorporated.
I'll let Brian tackle, I'll pick all three of these change orders.
Change order number 7 is really just an adjustment of final quantities to show all the work has been now completed. This change order is a decrease in the project amount of $275,846.27. I should note that this doesn't take into account the liquidated damages. That will be settled up on the final pay request. But this is to indicate the quantities.
Motion to approve that.
Make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign change order number 7, Madison Water System Improvements Phase 1A, J&J Earthworks.
Motion by Sarah,
Second.
second by Jure. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 16, authorize the mayor to sign change order number 3, Madison Water System Improvement Phase 1B, J&J Earthworks.
So this change order is the exact same thing. It's just really to adjust final quantities to reflect all the work completed. The decrease of this change order is $57,697.52.
Motion to authorize the mayor to sign change order number 3, Madison Water System Improvements, Phase 1B, J&J Earthworks Incorporated.
Motion by Kelly. Second by Sarah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 17, authorize mayor to sign change order number 1, Park Creek Walls Improvement Sites 1 and Site 3, Castle excavation.
So this change order is necessary, during removal of the existing rock walls adjacent to the Presbyterian Church. It was discovered that a section of the wall is approximately 40 feet in length, had been previously reconstructed as a reinforced retaining wall. There's large, inch rebar in that wall. The contractor had attempted initially to remove that section of the wall because that was in the project. But he was directed immediately to stop that work until we could further evaluate that. Banner has, in coordination with FEMA, after reviewing that wall section, it was determined that we would need to do an alternate means of construction there. There were two different alternates that we had requested prices for. The first alternate was a little more elaborate. It was a lot more cost. This RFP or request for price number 2 is represented in this change order number 1, and it's the least cost alternate. So this alternate includes removing the top portion of that existing reinforced wall to accommodate the installation of the slope riprap previously planned in that embankment. This will require the contractor to just demo the top of that existing wall, and then they'll monitor the vibrations during that process to make sure there's nothing negative happening with the church. And then they'll excavate along the church foundation, install some insulation there, just to make sure that removal of the existing bank isn't causing any frost issues with the foundation. The amount of wall that they will take out will still allow the existing reinforced wall to be above the footing of the church. So it'll be protected, and then the riprap will provide the protection from, any erosion. Banner and city staff have been coordinating with South Dakota Emergency Management on this modified scope, and in turn, we'll coordinate that with FEMA as well. The cost for this would be split as the other portions of the creek projects are. The federal government pays 75%, the state pays 10%, and the local is 15%. So this roughly $84,000 change order, the city would owe approximately $12,588.30. FEMA does require the local government to approve the change order before they'll approve the change order, but we have been in contact with them, and they haven't expressed any, hesitation to this or anything. It's the least cost alternate, which they like, and it also reduces the risk in impacting the structural integrity of the church, and it also eliminates the need to re-permit and redo a no-rise for the channel, which would delay it months. So this appears to be our best way to address that, and then in conversation with the church as well, and seem to be comfortable with the plan.
Right, is that why they had to pull some of that out on the other side and move it back?
No, so during some of our inspection steps, we had went down there and determined that a lot of that rock had rolled a little bit too far, and they actually had misaligned the channel. And so that's just unfortunately some rework that the contractors had to do, and there's not, there's no change order for that. It was just a mistake. It's cost them some time, but they're able to utilize the riprap that they had in place, and it's really just costing them a little bit of time is all. But yeah, it's really coming around now. It looks a lot better than what it did. They've got what we call it, the toe of the channel, or the box of the channel. They've got that now shaped, and it looks a lot better.
Yeah, it looked good, and I just wondering why they were pulling it out.
Yeah, that's why it was simply a mistake.
Yeah, I've had some people ask me that, just out of curiosity, so.
Yeah.
All right. So I need a motion to authorize the mayor to sign change order number 1, Park Creek Walls Improvement Sites 1 and Site 3, excavation.
So moved.
Motion by Duray,
Second.
second by Kelly. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 13, October finance updates.
September updates already. I cannot believe it's September. This update covers year-to-date through September of 2024, which is 75% of the year. Another note I would like to make you all aware of, which you have on your desk there, is the 2022 audit is complete and a correction action plan is in place. We will be scheduling the 2023 audit, this week on Thursday.
So the corrective action plan, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, we had a couple things that came back that we needed to issue right away. I didn't print that out. Did you bring a copy? Yeah, so we just had some things that we needed to modify or address immediately for them to complete the 2022. It's in your information, I think, in front of you in that packet. So we've already put those into place. Jameson's and the mayor both signed those and we provided them to the auditor. The general cash on hand is $12.66 million. And our investments, we have 8.82, checking 2.55, money market 1.04, and other is 257,000. Restricted, we have 619,000. Our revenue guidelines. And our expenditures. And this is the newest edition of the slide. It was here last month, but it shows you by fund. Sales tax slide, we had an increase this month of 10.45%. You see that this month? Shows our growth there. And then this is something I wanted to supply to you guys. I think it's nice for you to know the membership benefits we have from the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance. There's several different things being a part of that gives us. Loss control training. Our law enforcement has access to training and sample policies and procedures. They provide a cybersecurity assessment annually. We receive distribution credits for loss control. They do a property evaluation. And then we have membership service teams for questions in an annual visit from our policyholders or policy agent. And then they also provide our finance officer bond at no charge. It's part of the membership. Really great things that they do provide for us.
Any questions on the finance updates? Public comment?
Stuff that's lost.
I'm distraught. No public comment. Announcements. Next regular commission meeting will be Monday, November 4th, 2024 at 5:30. Anything else you need?
Nope, I think so.
Make sure we get out and vote in a couple weeks at an initiated measure. Obviously, it's gonna be pretty important.
Yeah.
So, not telling anybody how to vote, but obviously it's gonna be a significant impact to the budgets if it does pass, so. Other than that, motion to adjourn. Moved by Sarah,
Second.
second by Dre, non-negotiable. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carries. Have a great night. Thank you.